Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. This video is brought to you by First Detachment Nutrition. Battle tested, expert formulated. Use discount code AB10 at checkout for 10% off. What's up, gentlemen?
Howdy, howdy.
What's up?
I'm going to apologize to the audience in advance because I'm going to be eating my chicken and rice while this is on. I will mute myself so people don't murder me in the comments section.
Wow.
People very anal about me eating on air.
Colin, long time no see, man.
Hey, what's up? I was visiting family last week.
Yeah.
Glad to be back.
The great state of Florida.
Yeah. You're not missing much. not missing much, guys. Nah, it was all right.
Did you guys ever watch Big Mouth on
I love
Netflix?
that show, dude.
I love where the hormone monster has that whole song scene with the everything goes in Florida.
Hormone monster.
Fucking gold, dude.
Everything goes in Florida.
Is Big Mouth the show with Maya Rudolph?
Maya Rudolph, yeah, she's in.
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
in it.
So tell me if this is. Oh, we can't talk about this. Okay, forget it.
Todd censored himself.
I'm getting better at this.
Never mind.
That little voice in his head actually worked. So we know there's hope.
September is Woke Awareness Month.
Oh man. Woke
Speaking
awareness
of lenses, Chase, we got to fix that lens.
Chase
I don't
usually
look
has-
as white as you, so
Did you see the whole alcohol pad wiping the
No,
lens?
you didn't see that.
I was in the back room watching.
Oh, you did see it? Okay.
I saw it. That's why I said the white thing.
You're in the
Like, why
green
am I
room.
so white?
You're in the green room getting a BJ.
We might have I don't know if he's going to come on or not, but Nick, the guy I had on earlier, the Aussie, there he is. So here's Nick. He's going to come on too.
Oh, I wore this shirt for you.
What's up, Nick?
You like my t-shirts?
What's up?
Come on, man.
What's going on,
What's up?
Nick? We have to get somebody on with a cool Aussie accent that makes us sound smarter than we are.
Yeah.
He put the new guy. I like that.
There you go. Just had to fix the settings up. I had what is it? I've got so many devices attached to me at the minute. I'm like, shit, which one's attached to the microphone? Which one's a speaker? I need to sort all that shit out.
Cybernetic organism over here.
Yeah.
Where in Australia do you live? Or do you live in Australia still?
Oh no, so I'm in Thailand at the minute.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, you're coming over soon, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm literally leaving in 2 days. Yeah.
Oh, true. Shit. Yeah. So in Thailand at the moment, but I'm from Brisbane, so in Queensland, Australia.
Okay.
So kind of like northeast of Australia. Yeah.
Yeah. That's sick. Whereabouts in Thailand? Bangkok or Pattaya?
Yeah, Bangkok at the moment. We're just partner and I here. It's our second month here in Bangkok, but we're trying to decide on whether we sign a long-term lease here or go to Pattaya or something like that. But I'm pretty set on Bangkok, to be honest, because you got Muscle Factory down the road.
Yeah.
You've got Lotus, which is kind of like Tesco over here, down the road, the opposite direction. So you pretty much have everything at your fingertips. Just depends on which kind of direction you want to walk. So everything's within like a 500-600 meter radius. So it's pretty good.
It's cool. Is it generally safe?
Yeah, actually, like to my surprise, like, you know what you think of, like when you think third world, you're like, oh, like third world countries, I probably have to like keep my passport in like some sort of like sleeve under my shirt and stuff like that, like be real kind of like vigilant. But no, it's actually super safe. Hey, I could probably drop my wallet and someone would probably, like a homeless guy, would probably pick it up and give it to me. Like it's that kind of, it's a bit of a positive culture shock.
I was gonna say, like, I'm from Detroit. I mean, I would think that I'm safer going to
Detroit. I'd imagine there's a lot of like bars over people's windows in Detroit.
There's no windows. It's just graffiti.
They're all broken out.
Just garbage in the streets.
I remember going to Detroit, and you know, I live in the DC metro area, and you're going to Detroit, and I was like, "Oh my god, this place really exists."
Here.
It's so
Is it
funny
kind of-
because Chicago still hasn't caught up, but they're the one getting all the coverage.
I know,
People
yeah.
wrote Detroit off for 50 years. It's been murder capital of the world. Like nobody gives a shit anymore.
Yeah, it's ridiculous talking about living in Chicago because like you say it to anybody that lives in another state and they're just like, what's it like living there? And I see none of it. I've never seen any issues in like Chicago is so fucking spread out. Like I don't see any of the bad part of it at all. And yeah, it's just like living anywhere else really. But
I mean, it's the same thing here in DC. Colin knows there's certain parts of DC you don't go to.
yeah, you
But-
just know you stay away from those areas.
Yeah,
you
there's like
know?
areas you're like, you don't go past this street.
But like those areas are like it's like a 30-minute drive like to go that
Yeah.
you know to get to that area. So it's
Yeah, it's same here. Is I don't hit if I drive south on Northwestern, which is 10, which starts in a mile from my house, but I'd have to drive 15 minutes straight just to get to the edge of Detroit to
Yeah.
where it at. And then once you cross 8 Mile, it's like that Simpsons episode where like it's just like the sun isn't even shining on that side of the street. Like 8 Mile is almost like the Berlin Wall. It's so drastic how bad it is if you go south of 8
So
Mile.
the weather doesn't even want to cross that
Yeah.
line. It's kind of like the weather's like, nah, fuck that. Like,
Yeah, I was shocked when I saw Detroit when I went there the first time. I was like, "Oh my god, man, this place like it looks like what I would have imagined Berlin looked like post World War II."
It's
Buildings
better
on
now.
fires, and
It's better now, but it was horrible when I was growing up.
don't they like pretty much burn the whole town down on Halloween?
It's Devil's Night, yeah. It's the Detroit holiday.
What?
It's Devil's. Oh, you've never heard Devil's Night?
Yeah,
No.
Hell Night or whatever it
October
is. Yeah.
30th is Devil's Night. It's where you go through Detroit and you burn people's houses down.
Like you do.
what?
And they don't rebuild anything. So there's just burnt out houses through most of Detroit. And then like there'll be houses that are like a husk where the fire was, and trees come up through it. Like if you
As
see the
is
movie
tradition.
8 Mile, which I hate
Nature is
to say that,
healing.
but like 8 Mile was very accurate. That was actually a pretty accurate movie. The funny thing is they're in Warren. They're not even in Detroit. Like Detroit was too dangerous. So it's like it was not filmed where they say it was filmed.
8 Mile was a trippy movie. Like I watched it
Crow.
when I think I was like sick when I watched it today, and I swear I was like tripping balls like in and out of sleep. And I just remember watching a clip of like a house on fire or something, or like guns fire, and then he was like boning this chick in the like factory. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And I'm like, clearly I missed a very important segment of the film.
Yeah, nobody outside of Michigan knows about Devil's Night. LOL, I'm 53. Yeah, that's funny. I didn't know that people didn't know about Devil's Night because of the movie The Crow was such a big movie. I figured everyone
that
had
was-
seen that movie.
The Crow. Did you hear they might be doing a remake with Jason Momoa? As that would be interesting.
I thought it's Bill Skarsgård.
Oh, really?
That-
He'd
yeah,
be better
Penile.
for the role. He'd be
Yeah.
better for the role, I reckon. But far out. It'd be good if they don't butcher it, because The Crow was a classic. Like, far out.
Yeah,
remember
Jason
watching it on
Momoa would be a
VHS.
great Eric Draven.
Sorry.
Because it's Eric DeRaven. Eric Draven. It's not terribly clever. It's not like Poe written all over it. So Colton, are you gonna take like compression socks or anything on your flight
Dude,
to
I
Thailand?
do
I would be
to be
terrified.
honest.
Huh?
I'm just
I've still got edema 4 weeks later from the flight. Like,
really. It's
Yeah.
I'll be in an airplane for an entire 24-hour period. Like that's between layovers and such. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I might honestly take like half a diazide just for the shits, but I'm going to fast for sure. And then we'll see what happens when I get there. It's going to be a shit to show anyways.
I'm
it's
surprised
awful.
Steve doesn't have a video like how to survive flying.
I think he does.
Yeah.
Like his recommendation is walking up and down the aisles and shit. Like
Right. Well, I have to pee a
No.
lot, so
Yeah.
I figured that would help.
Yeah.
Like
I
the
know
neighbor
it's,
on the street,
oh.
don't fall asleep or you'll die. It's like you gotta stay awake for the whole flight, otherwise you're fucked.
So there's
Oh,
a
God.
really good like as close to medically grade compression socks that you can get at this website called Vim and Vigor. Let me get the link.
yeah.
I've got a couple pairs of those, and they are really fucking strong as far as like compression goes.
Is that uncomfortable?
I mean, it's tight, but I mean, you get used to it. Like I wear them when I go on flights and stuff, like long like road trips or something, and it gets the job done. So let me.
My
find
client
this
that's
link.
a pro bodybuilder, she bought these things. She puts on her legs that massage your legs that
Right.
pump
Is
up
it like
and
those
down.
electric things? Those like
Yeah.
electric, yeah.
And she takes it on the flight with her, like when coming from west to east. I'm worried about. I have to go out to Masters Nationals for my show. I'm worried about that 6-hour flight or whatever it is to LA from here.
That's a
If
lot.
I could redo like the flight over here, I'd wear. I basically did everything wrong. I'd pop a baby aspirin. I would probably take a bit of vitamin E, some fish oil, stuff like that, like natural blood thinners, and I'd get some compression socks, walk up and down the aisle, stay hydrated. What I pretty much done was I just snacked on beef jerky all through the flight. Didn't move from my seat, and because I didn't want to waste. I didn't want to waste the last kid of growth I had at home before I came over. I was like, you know what? I'm going to just rinse this last kit over the last like 1 to 2 weeks. So I was taking 16 IU a day. I took my full week's worth of anabolics the day before the flight.
Oh
because
my
I
God.
was like, basically, I'd been microdosing like the whole time. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to like take it all because I'm not going to be able to take anything for at least a week. I need to get over there, get stuff. And so I think I was just so waterlogged. My E2 was probably through the roof. And so I'm guessing that's why I probably had that bad like edema for like quite a while. And I got a foot massage a while ago. It settled down. But I got my bloods done the other day, and my E2 came back at the range. It was like I think it was like 5 times the range. I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was the main reason. Yeah.
Did you guys?
Good good stuff.
Did you guys?
I like this guy. He's good.
I cannot believe that is what you did. Is you're like,
Oh, no.
I'm gonna blast GH and aromatizing gear and then eat beef jerky. Because I was thinking in my head, like, what did he eat peanuts on a plane? Is that what he did? And I was like, no, it's much better than that. He had jerky. It was like 10,000. I was like, that's just gonna say he drank vodka and beer. I was like, no, the vodka actually thin his blood.
Oh, it was bad. It was a disaster.
That's a question.
But like,
does anyone
yeah.
actually drink Foster's in Australia?
Foster's? No, I can't say I've seen it here. Eh?
Okay, that's so good.
I saw it when I was in the States. We've got a terrible like beer over here though. It's called VB, Victoria Bitter. Like, if anyone ever like tries to give you a VB, don't drink it. Like it's pretty much like if they hooked up like a keg to like the urinals and they just got all of the like collecting like urinals just going into the keg, and then they refrigerated it and sold it. That's what VB would be like.
Oh wow,
yeah.
That's so weird that Foster's is not drank in Australia, since their slogan is "It's Australian for beer."
Oh really?
Isn't it like?
You talking
like
about this reminds me of
Foster's,
basketball.
Australian for beer. It's like that. That's what their commercial is. So,
Oh wow, I don't think I've ever heard an Australian refer to a beer as Foster. We call it a cold one over here. It's like, oh, do you want a cold one? Yeah, sure, mate. All right. Like,
Yeah, there's a brand called
never
Foster's.
heard.
Isn't it like Outback Steakhouse? Aren't they like based out of Texas or some shit?
right.
They're not
It's
even.
like it's the Crocodile Dundee of beers. It's like totally made up shit. Apparently,
It's like when a Chinese person opens up like a ribs like restaurant and they're trying to be like real American, like howdy. Like, I don't know. That's kind of like what Foster's are doing by the sounds of it. They're like
the irony is that every single Chinese buffet has Texas style ribs.
Wow.
They have pizza, they have ribs, because people bring their kids with them, and their kids are probably going to want something that they're used to. So
Yeah,
there's
is that
always
that
pizza
golden?
and there's always ribs.
See, this is an instance where cultural appropriation isn't necessarily a bad thing. You know,
Yeah.
it can be delicious and it can be hilarious.
Is
Yeah.
American a culture?
Yeah, like Nicholas was saying, in Japan actually, they have like American style restaurants where you will have people who work there, you know, like being caricatures of what they perceive to be as an American like character, American
They show
persona,
up
and they
late
play it up.
and they don't do their job.
No, yeah, they got like a cowboy hat on, you know, and they're like,
Oh, God.
you know, like just like, hey there, partner, I'm American Joe. You know, like, but you know, Japanese dude doing it, and it would be offensive, but it's not. You're laughing. It's not offensive. It's fucking
it's like
awesome, and I want to see
Bebop
more.
in real life. It's like a real life Cowboy Bebop.
It's the good kind of cultural appropriation.
man,
I'm here
that
for
is
it.
fucking hysterical.
One thing I've noticed about like I guess just Asian cultures in general, like it was the same when I went to Japan years ago, because I was over there for a month, and it's just they can take a joke. Like you go anywhere in say Australia, and I'm sure it's probably the same in America. You say something slightly politically incorrect, like you're gonna have like a whole like
SWAT team.
flock of left wing people like just breathing up your neck, like you're like, whoa, okay, it's just a joke, calm down.
Yep.
You gotta walk,
I always
walk a very
say
nuanced
it's a
line.
joke, not a dick. Don't take it so hard.
Yeah.
Which they're not going to
should
like.
put it on
because they already don't have a sense of humor, so they're totally not going to like that. So you really just wind them up, and you're like, you see them getting redder, and you're like, let's pop that pimple that you call a face.
Somebody.
Do we need to add
Somebody in
that
my
to the list
Discord.
of Todd-isms for t-shirts?
It's a good
Yeah,
one.
I was gonna say
a
you
good
need to put that
one.
on a t-shirt. Yeah, that is.
Oh,
that
there's
is
so
gold.
many things that need to go on t-shirts.
Someone in my Discord said, in a world full of dicks, don't be an asshole or a P word.
The best part, that you can say asshole, but you can't say the P word.
No.
YouTube has very specific rules.
Very specific. Like how? Oh, I can't say it.
Well, what did Arnold say? Is like rules are made to be broken, so we should just like break all the YouTube rules. Like
Right.
I don't know.
Screw monetization.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm not going to monetize mine, is because I don't want them to catch me breaking their rules. I think you're invisible if you're not monetized.
Do you think that's why your Ask Like channel got kind of shut down? Because was it monetized? Do you think that's why you got like the attention drawn to it? Or
My first channel, as soon as I monetized it, they didn't give me any money, and then they banned me from life from even watching YouTube 3 months later.
Wow.
Yeah. So like if I use my normal Google account, I can't access YouTube. I can't watch it. I have to make other accounts just to watch YouTube.
Elon needs
And
to
they
buy
said
YouTube
too,
and
is
unfuck it like he did with Twitter.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
So I set up a Rumble and I set up a Twitter. I just haven't been putting any of my stuff on those yet, but they're ready to go. I've got it all set up.
That's awesome.
So I'm prepared for getting banned from YouTube. It's like, let's go.
I've thought about people getting my stuff over to Twitter.
It's like,
We'll see.
let's get fucked up and get thrown out of an Applebee's.
Did you guys see Iain Valliere retired?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean-
I was expecting it in like within the next 2 years, but definitely not this.
Well,
It's interesting because he just qualified too, and it was like, wow, he just shut it down.
I don't know why I had it in my head that he was way older than he is. He's 32. And he's still in his prime.
it's so weird to me because I didn't get started till I was 31.
I think probably a lot of it has to do like his chest splitting like that I think is going to end up being something like the Scott Steiner thing where it like really starts splitting.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's clearly coming apart. So it's like,
Do you reckon it's like an acromegaly kind of symptom of like just like years of pushing the GH? It's just sort of like it's just diverging apart, or
I don't
What are we
know.
talking
I
about?
don't know what caused
We're
that.
talking about his abs?
Yeah, or maybe it's just like the
his
stretching of the
chest
fascia.
Oh,
Must be like just stretching of the fascia maybe over time from just so much training. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe,
know. Like
yeah.
maybe like pressing too hard and trying to squeeze too hard, and it's just like slowly pulling apart. I don't know. It's it's crazy.
Maybe there's
But-
like micro tears. You know, I think about like all the little fibers, and maybe you just have some that are just detaching. You know, and then like over time, just a couple more detach, a couple more, and then you're left with what you have. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's what he's did is pretty cool and it's admirable because, you know, honestly, he talks about being scared about using so much gear and the consequences that might have in this future. And I kind of admire that because it's something I'm always thinking about too, is like, man, I want to be able to be doing other shit other than bodybuilding in the future too. And, you know, obviously, man, like, the guy's been bodybuilding. He's done like, what, 40 shows or something, like not pro shows included, but it must have been hard just to step away from all that. It's pretty admirable to be like, fuck it.
Yeah, well, he started young, 18. It's like, I mean, you start bodybuilding 18, that's pretty much your entire adulthood. Like, you just, that would be your identity. Like, he probably would have, I mean, even though he kind of touched on it a bit in that video, I think that he recently did, like, he would have felt pretty lost, I think, for a moment there, like thinking, all right, well, what am I then? I've been this bodybuilder since day dot, essentially. Like, what am I now? What am I going to do? But he seems to have a bit of a bearing as to what he wants to do, so it's good.
Yeah. It would just be, it's such a hard transition for me to even think about, like, not eating, you know, 5 to 6 meals a day, not training, not, you know, taking some form of compound. Like, it's such a weird concept, I guess. I wouldn't know what to do with myself if I didn't have 5 to 6 meals a day. You know, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. What would I do with my time? Like, that's sort of thing. It's like life revolves around your meals, your training session, and then everything in between. You're like, all right.
Shit.
I mean, that's a fair point. That maybe he just, Casey's saying, that maybe he just realized he wasn't going to win the Mr. Olympia, so it's kind of like, why keep going?
Go out on like a strong note sort of thing. I
mean, we got people like Andrew Jacked coming up, man. That's like, I see that.
He looks
like
phenomenal.
He
has a shot at. I reckon he has a shot at winning the Olympia. To be honest, like, I really do.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, I admire Derek. He seems like a really great athlete. Like, obviously, very like genetically gifted in terms of his insertions and everything. But and Andrew Jack, like, especially when they're like side by side on stage, he's just going to dwarf them. He's giant, and he's
insane looking.
He's filled out. Yeah, and I mean, what he's done with Chris sounds so weird. He's got like 2 Chris coaches, but what he's done with those guys, like, it's making a massive difference, like night and day.
He looks insane. I wouldn't be surprised if he's, you know, right up there, top 5, top 3. You know, it'll be crazy to see him all together on stage. So
Ryan's saying, Paul, don't you think it's kind of risky run cycles at your age? YOLO.
Any age.
YOLO.
YOLO. Most guys my age, like, I went recently, but I have my 30th high school reunion coming up, but we had like a pre-reunion thing for I'm going to let my nerd side fly, but for my high school band, and I went to it, and I'm like, my God, the people my age, they all look horrible. They're all fat, smoking cigarettes, drinking. They all look like shit. So I'm like, is it any worse than that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
I think it's a mitigation thing. Like, the question, like, if you have to push so much shit that is damaging your health just to maintain what you've got and you have no chance of competing, then that doesn't make a lot of sense. But you could dial it back to a lower level and still make progress and then be competitive once he hits 40, maybe.
You know what? I'm not unsure. Oh, sorry, you go. Sorry.
No, I just, like, people think it's hyper risky, and honestly, I probably do. I mean, besides Vigorous Steve, I think I do more organ imaging and EKGs and echocardiograms like than anybody I know. And I sent you guys my blood work, and I've never really seen anything that's like radically scary. My organs have never been out of proportion. I've never had any sign of sclerosis on my hepatic system or my kidneys. My heart hasn't been enlarged massively beyond a typical athlete. And I think as long as you're responsible, it's like, and Paul's very responsible sometimes. you know, you don't run into those risks. It's just, and Chase is another great example of that. You know, it's like he's peaked the doses and hasn't seen much of a return on negative for his health.
I mean, I just think about the guys like I grew up in a redneck area. All my high school friends, they're drinking Coors Light, smoking cigarettes, and riding Harleys. I think about their risk profile for dying early, eating like shit. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm at any more risk than they are, but people don't talk about that. It was and Maul made a good point though here too. Oh no, that was the wrong one. Hang on, I wanted to
still a good point
about Ian. Like people just love to beat him up on social media, and it seems like he takes it personally. Like I noticed, like he responds to people and gets in battles with people. I'm sure that wears on you after a while. I'm not at his level, and I get tired of the people DMing me and ripping on me all the time. I literally, I mean, I'm sure you guys have to do it too. I have to block people every fucking day. Every day. Every morning I wake up and I'll block like 5 or 6 people.
Every day, like 5, 6 ladies, like, what that PP do? And it's just like, oh God, like, give me some rest for once.
I wish.
All the lady boys your DMs.
The lady boys.
So many dick pics I gotta block.
It's like Fruit Ninja, that game. It's like eggplant.
The only ladies that message me are lady boys.
Oh God,
that's what Todd's trying to figure out right now. Is that a lady boy?
Yeah, I don't have the vision for that. I was just looking at Colton blood work.
Oh, you're finally looking at it.
Well, you're the one.
Look at his.
It's so small and
Just
it's
click
so blurry.
pause. Todd, just click.
are we still
pause.
talking about the blood work? Or?
Blood work is a code. It's a code
Todd's
name.
off on another track.
It's a code word.
No, I'm looking at his blood work.
No, but I feel bad. I sort of feel bad for Ian because like I see him. He takes it personally, man, and he gets in these battles with people on social media.
Sucks.
Dude, it's gotta be hard. Like we have like a small fraction of the following he does.
Yeah.
You know, and I can't imagine. Like you wake up every fucking day in your comment section, there's like 80 people who have nothing good to say. It's got to be pretty daunting.
What
It's always like you could have one negative comment, you could have like 10 positive comments, but the one negative one would stand out to you. So God forbid having like 80 negative ones. That would
I know. I have to remind myself of that sometimes. You know, I've got 35,000 people or whatever following me on Instagram, and I get three people messaging me that you know was something stupid. It's just 3 people out of however many.
Statistically speaking, it's like insignificantly. Yeah, it's not even worth measuring.
Speaking of those guys coming out of the woodwork, I did a video on Mike Mentzer training. I wanted to get your guys' take on that. I thought I was pretty objective with the video.
Yeah,
but I had several people reach out to me and ask me to do a video on Mike Mentzer training, and I guess Dr. Mike put one up too. And because like it seems like he just resurfaces every 5 to 10 years, and he just like people, that whole mentality or whatever comes back out of the woodwork. And then I posted some stuff up. Like I know some things about Mike, that he was just a very troubled man, had drug addiction, was, you know, a very off the wall guy, and people got so mad and upset about it.
Yeah,
I think the Nandrolone only cycles would have like caused a lot of neurodegeneration toward the end too. Yeah, like just Deca only cycles, and then taking what was it, Ritalin or Adderall, like chronically, like that would have also caused a bit of like neurotoxicity. And I don't think he was in a good state at the end.
Yeah, he was using amphetamines. the story was that he used for pre-workout, he was amphetamines and cocaine is what he would do for pre-workout.
Yeah. That's what I heard. And when you're taking that many excitatory compounds, like that is neurotoxic. Like we know people who use Adderall long term lose neurons at a much faster rate than people who don't.
Amphetamine and cocaine.
Then we got
and then no estrogen for that neuroprotection because he's just running Deca only. Like he's pretty much just like pouring like kerosene on a fire. Like
yeah, and it seemed like he was already bipolar to begin with, because he would have these big manic states where he would just work nonstop. And then there was a story I heard about that I found where I guess he was working at Flex magazine or had an interview with Flex magazine, and Peter Magoo, the editor, said that he had talked to him, and Mike said he had just gotten back from meeting Bill Clinton on the moon to discuss like world problems, and he said Mike was serious. He was not joking.
That's great.
Sounds like schizophrenia, actually.
Yeah, schizophrenia. I don't know. And the funny thing is like, from what I understand, I could be completely wrong about this. Like, he didn't even really come up with the whole HIIT training thing until he was pretty much done with bodybuilding.
That's what I was gonna say and ask, is like, do we know whether or not that's what he did to build his body?
No.
I imagine he was probably doing everything that Arnold and all the other guys were doing. You know?
And that's a really important feature. It's like people like to follow people who are in like a moment of mania because they're so outspoken. They're so against the grain that someone's like, oh, this guy has to have something to say, and he can speak his mind more than this person. And if people are pessimists, maybe we should listen to them because they know something we don't. But the reality is that maybe the dude was just fucking cognitively impaired, like legitimately, you know?
No, 100%. And I mean, I think a lot of it, like you said, he was probably doing the stuff the other guys were doing, the other like golden era bodybuilders, Arnold and stuff, and like doing the high volume work. I mean, we all know, like through practice, like through our own experience and also coaching others, like it takes a lot to build tissue. It doesn't take a lot to maintain it. So he could have been doing this like stupidly reduced training volume approach in his latter years and been holding on to 95% of his tissue that he'd acquired earlier in his lifetime quite easily, I reckon. And I mean, on top of that too, I think it's a very like a emotionally driven style of training. Like, I think you need to be the right kind of crazy to do HIIT and actually pull it off effectively. Not many people can. I mean, look at Dorian Yates. Like, you need to be able to take your sets to that kind of level. And I mean, most people in the gym are like, yeah, doing like HIIT like Dorian Yates, and you watch them, they do their set. Their last rep is like the same like velocity as their first rep, and you're like, mate, you're not even close to failure.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's funny to use that as the marker, because that's usually how I can tell that I'm 1 RIR is the rep slows down a lot. That I can't, what do you call it, get the concentric tempo to match the other tempos.
Yeah, and it's almost like exponential. Like, you get toward the end of the rep, and it like exponentially slows down, and you almost like like dead set grinding that last few inches. Yeah,
right.
And you look at the top 10 at the Olympia currently, and maybe even in the past too, in their training methods. Like, I mean, like Derek Lunsford doesn't train to. He might say he trains to failure, but when you watch him, it's like, okay, he's like 2 reps in reserve, 3 reps in reserve. Andrew Jack certainly doesn't train to failure. He does a lot of pump work. You know, it's not. We don't see many people who are actually successful long term training that HIIT style.
Yeah,
I'm all about training to failure. I'm not saying that's bad. It's just like there's a way to do it. Maybe
I can't think of one bodybuilder in the modern era that's been successful with HIIT training outside of Dorian.
And look how short his career was. He had so many injuries toward the end. He had to stop.
And
like,
even Dorian's
bicep, tricep tear, like everything. Like, even
Dorian's training, when you watch him, he did a lot more volume than what people realize.
Yeah, his warm-up sets were probably harder than most people's working sets.
Right. That's what I got. I did a video about that where I went through and kind of picked apart his blood and guts training and showed people like the sets, and people were like, well, the warm-up sets don't count. And I'm like, well, shit, the warm-up sets were freaking brutal.
Yeah, he's like,
they were. Yeah, he was screaming during his warm-up set. So I don't know how you can't count that. Those certainly count towards volume.
What's funny is Lee Haney's system was, you go like 10 reps, add weight, 8 reps, but it's not to failure, and then add weight, and then 6 reps to failure. But that 8 reps not to failure was still probably like 3 RIR or 4 RIR.
Right. And the thing is a lot of his sets were assisted, or he was doing like reps of, like, people don't realize this. He was doing like leg press sets that he would do maybe 30 fucking reps on. Like, that is not low volume. And then someone would come in and like assist him, and he's going past failure. Like, I don't know. It's not what people think. Like, you're adding volume by doing things like that. Like having someone help you through a set, having an intensity technique where you're doing quarter ranges of motion. Like, that's basically just adding an additional set in a different kind of form.
Right.
Especially in the lengthened position. If you're doing like lengthened partials, like that's a lot of effective stimulus. Like,
I got to get Larry Powell, see if I can get Larry to come on sometime. Larry, somebody said he has great Mentzer stories, but Larry Larry, I think Larry trained with him.
Oh wow,
Cool.
Yeah, I
That'd
remember.
be awesome.
But
So
that's go ahead.
Dorian had 2 forced negative or whatever. It was 3 forced negative, and then I think there was one more thing. There was like 2 set extenders on Dorian sets, and so really you're failing on the 15th. You hit positive failure on like the 6th rep, but you're getting 12 reps with 2 set extenders. So his work set was 3 sets.
pretty much like my rep sets essentially. Like so. He's
Yep.
kind of like doing 3 sets in one set
Right.
in terms of the total amount of effective reps acquired in that single working set. So it's like, you can make the argument like he did low volume, but like he wasn't really, like, if you like, break it down like that.
Well, it was like I did DC training for years, and even with the DC training, I mean, Dante would count it as 1 set, but you'd have the rest pauses. They were really 4 sets because you would do your first set, you would do another rest pause, a second rest pause, a third rest pause, then a forced negative. So it's really like 4 sets that you were doing with crazy intensity.
What's interesting is I always used to train to failure, like 2 sets with 1 back off set, basically. And then I took a deload. I've been on cruise without any growth hormone or insulin or anything. I took a deload, and now I'm trying to do the reps and reserve method where I'm doing 3 to 2 RIR.
I just started that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, without the growth hormone, my joints hurt a lot on that deload. Like, they fucking hurt. My elbows were so painful. My fingers were, from grabbing heavy ass fucking weights, my fingers were sore. My knees were sore. And I think what happened was the growth hormone and the anabolics covered up all these fucking issues, and I was accruing them as I was training that hard. And now that I'm doing RIR, I don't have that. Like, my elbow doesn't hurt on a bicep curl, or my knee doesn't feel a little wonky when I go on a leg press. It's interesting, to say the least.
Oh, then what do I say about coming off?
You don't ever realize that you're coming off until you do. I'm fucking this up.
No, you never realize you're on until you come
That's
off.
the one. My bad. Fuck
People are like, I don't think this is working. I'm like, come off for 3-4 weeks and let me know if you think it's not working.
Yeah.
I was too busy thinking my fingers hurt.
When you bend over and it's like hard to tie your shoelace, you're like, oh shit, okay. Time to get back on.
I had to block a lot of people after that Mike Mentzer video, though. I got some people really angry at me. People were really angry.
People get so emotionally invested. It's like, so they're almost religious about it. Like I know it's very popular over in the UK. In the UK, especially, like there's a lot of people very emotionally attached to that style of training, and I get it. Like they're probably just like really, I suppose, inspired by Dorian being a local bodybuilder that rose up out of pretty much.
I mean, Dorian's my favorite bodybuilder of all time. I love Dorian. I loved his mentality, just of no nonsense and just getting the work done.
Kevin Levrone as well. I like him. I like how his mentality of like he wanted to suffer in prep, so he'd like sleep on the floor, all this sort of stuff. He'd just try and make it as uncomfortable as possible. I do kind of like that about him.
Kevin's
He's very
hilarious.
eccentric, though.
He's a local guy. He's from this area, and Kevin would literally not train like 6 months out of the year and look like just a normal dude. And then would go back on and overnight would be ready for the Olympia. I'm like, how the hell is that even possible?
Yeah,
crazy.
Hyper responsive.
So one thing I noticed is I did what Colton said was I actually gave it a shot doing the RIRs thing, because I've tried Israel's program before, but I was doing it to failure every set. So if there's 20 sets a workout, it was 20 sets to failure. And I was deloading basically. I need to deload every 2 or 3 weeks. I couldn't make it very far into a mesocycle. So what I found was, rather than, let's say, doing 180 for 12, and then my second set getting 6, and my third set getting like 4, I started doing 180 for, and rather than getting 180 for 4, I would do a back off set. So you're using less load, which Dorian specifically said you never want to do. I was doing 180 for 10, 2 RIR, and then I would get 10 again the second set, but this time it's 1 RIR, and then I'd get 10 again the third set, at 0 RIR. So I do get a failure set in, but it's the third set's the failure set. So rather than getting 12, 6, 4, which is 22 reps with 180 pounds, I'd be getting 30 reps with 180 pounds. So if you don't go by the effective rep method, if you go by just total volume load method, it's more volume load. You actually get less done when you do the first set to failure because it just saps so much of your energy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it diminishes how much you can exert yourself on the following sets.
Scott said, I'm living proof that you don't have to train failure.
No, it's true.
I used to a lot. I had to evolve my training as you get older. Like, you just can't continue to train like that in your 40s. I challenge anybody to try to do a HIIT program going into their 40s and 50s and sustain it over a period of time and do it properly. I know there's guys that say they do it, but it's just, you'll just break. And like what I found out, and Colin works out with me, is everything hurt all the time. My elbow hurt, my shoulder hurt, my knee hurt. You're tearing muscles and stuff like that. And I'm like, if I keep getting injured, I can't progress.
Yeah, doing this RIR thing, like, okay, I was using the slow tempo stuff with the pause, and all my aches and pains went away because I was using less load and I was feeling more muscle soreness. But now doing this RIR thing the way it's supposed to be done with the programming, like 1 or 2 reps in reserve, 2-1-0 basically. I have no soreness anymore either. I'm recovering so much faster, so you have higher frequency. And I just got my blood work done, and my creatinine was the lowest it's ever been, which makes me think that taking sets to failure does more muscle damage than not taking sets to failure. Which you're like, well, no shit, Sherlock, but it means that you should probably grow more per unit calorie in time because there's less repair that needs to be done, which is the same thing that everybody has said. Yates, Meadows would say, don't dig a hole you can't climb out of.
Yeah.
And it's just, you should be sore for 1 day so you can grow for 2. If you're sore for 3 days, you didn't grow for any.
Right.
Yeah. And I think another outside effect that I've really noticed this past week is that my ability when I get home to be productive is much higher. Before, I would literally need to sleep. Like, I would need a nap after training. And now it's like I can get home and still be productive. And I'm not as crabby or moody anymore either. And I'm in a deficit right now. And I think that speaks volumes. Like, that's enough for me to be able to do this.
I got more accomplished in the past 2 weeks since I've started this system, or 3 weeks, than I did in the past year.
Yeah.
Like, I used to nothing but sleep and watch TV. I was too tired to do anything else, even get my steps in. I'm able to make content, and I'm able to research stuff before I make the content.
Yeah.
It's so much more into central nervous system is so much less depleted. There's so much less fatigue in general, systemic fatigue. And I'm still hitting a failure set, at least one, but it's the third set. It's not the first set.
Yeah. That's how it's meant to be done. A lot of people mess up the whole rep and reserve training approach, I suppose. They think, oh, okay, I need to make sure all my sets are 2 reps in reserve. It's like, no, well, you do that, then your first few sets are way too easy. Or they don't know what failure is, which, I mean, is a big issue, I guess. That's why I do like training, the whole training to failure approach for very green lifters, beginners. They need to know what it feels like to go to failure. But once you obviously get over that beginner intermediate hump, we're all well and truly over. You know what failure feels like. If anything, it's harder to not train to failure than it is to train to failure.
Yeah.
And so
I used to never know. It's like you're
100%.
It's slow, and then you can't do it. And you're like, oh, I just.
You're like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
You're like, But now it's like, I'm like, oh, it's slowing down. All right, that's going to be, I'm done then. And so, one thing, this guy saying, Robert, is that I had to do the program to failure and every set for me to have new numbers, data to calculate out what my RIR is. It's not, I'm not doing it subjectively. I think I'm almost done. No, I mean, I've proven to myself I can do, previous example, 180 for 12. That's what my end of my last meso cycle ended with, was 180 for 12 on set 1 on this exercise. That means 3 RIR for week 1 of the other one is 180 for 9. And then you go 9, 9, 9. And then the next week it's 10, 10, 10. And then next week it's 11, 11, 11. And then the fourth week it's 12, 12, 12. So I used to get, like, let's say 12, 8, 6 or 12, 6, 4. Now I'm getting 12, 12, 12. So you made progress, but you made progress in the second and third sets. And then in theory, you would go for another week and try to get 13, 13, 13 or add load.
Yeah, you like linearly project it out and map it out, so you have basically like a blueprint to follow.
Right. It's not a subjective assessment of how many reps you have in reserve. It's a subtraction from previous data collected as to what your estimated max reps are, and then you just subtract from that for that given week.
But I think new people, I would say generally, if you have 2 years or less of training, you still need to be learning what failure is, because it takes 100%. A long time to develop that skill. And if any of my clients are watching, like, I program to failure still, and that's mostly because a relatively large majority of them are new, and they need to learn. Like, hey,
I do the same thing too.
Well, you also haven't developed the neural drive yet either to, like, train that hard either. As you get bigger, we all know this, that your ability to push harder exponentially increases your risk of injury. Like, going to, like, for example, like bench presses, like, I don't know where I would be right now, but I'd probably be up pressing 405 I mean, that the risk of hurting myself on that is way higher than it would be at 135 or 185.
Yeah, we can also put some metrics to this. Like, the muscle grows faster than the tendons and the bones, right? And so that means after 10 years of
unless
lifting,
you take 18 units of Serostem,
So after then 10 years,
it might not be the case.
So if you're like this when you're like, let's say 18 and you first hit the gym, 2 years later you're like this. This is strength. This is durability. 10 years later you're like this. 20 years later you're like this. Then you're 30, and what do you call it? Then you're like, your durability goes down, not up. Then you're 40. So, like, eventually you're going to be so strong. There's no way your structure can handle how much your muscle is strong. Your muscle will just pull right off the fucking bone.
So, that discrepancy is getting larger and larger over time.
It's a reverse U curve, right? Like, there's a place where it's perfect, like the intensity that you're bringing, the reps in reserve, and then once you exceed that, it's like your trajectory just kind of starts to decline, and you accumulate injury.
In addition to that, as your muscle gets bigger, it needs more volume to continue to get bigger, which means that you're going to get more fatigued. So if the ratio of stimulus to fatigue for that set is bad, you're really fucked. Because
that's why exercise selection is so much more important as you get more experienced.
Yeah, and also because the dog is on the camera, and
I didn't even see that.
Chase got a hair transplant.
So what's funny is
you made him nervous
by keeping yourself at 2 RIR, for example. You're at 90% of the stimulus, but you're at like 12% of the fatigue. Almost all the fatigue of the set is the last 2 reps. And that way, because there's so much higher demand on volume for someone who's been lifting for 10 or 20 or 30 years, and they're so much less capable of recovering from fatigue, it's so much more important to use higher rep ranges, so you're using less load and using a higher RIR amount and just switching to more volume. So the take-home message would be, if you're a kid and assuming you can do it correctly, but most people don't, you could do sets of 5 on big barbell lifts, do 1 set to failure, and then that's all you need to grow is 1 heavy ass set. But if on the other side, his dad, who's in his 40s, would want to be doing 3 sets of 12 with something he could handle for, in theory, 15 reps for the first set, 3 times a week.
I love the training talk. This is giving me a boner, by the way.
I thought I was boring everyone.
I get tired of talking about steroids.
Well, steroids are training success.
Well, there's only so much to say about them. I mean, like the compounds that are used have been around for fucking decades, and it's like there's only so many combinations. It's like, all right, cool. Now let's talk about something that's more nuanced: training and food. It's more interesting. It makes up a bigger percentage of the actual outcome of your results. Like realistically,
it's funny
like,
when you get around
drugs like widen the parameters, but it's the food and the training, the recovery that's doing the work.
It's funny when you get
drugs
around pro bodybuilders and start talking to them, but they always want to talk about food and training. It's always the newbies that want to talk about steroids, which I get. I was in that spot myself at some point, but like at some point I got to do a video about it. But everybody ends up taking the same damn cycle anyway for the most part. Once they hit a certain level, they're all everybody doing the same shit.
Someone caught Dr. Todd.
What happened?
Oh, I was gonna say Todd's hairline looks stronger today.
Yeah, it was a joke. Yeah. It was like after seeing, because what it is it's so pale it doesn't show up on camera at all. So I was like, I'm gonna actually get it dyed I'm gonna go get it cut and dyed before this episode, so that people can see how much hair is actually there, because
it's a lot of density,
completely invisible.
Yeah.
You guys heard Dr. Todd's feelings.
No. If I was trying to hide it, I wouldn't have taken my hat off.
Yeah, it would have been like Bradley Martin, where he just keeps it on the whole time.
Yeah.
Remember what was it? Some dude knocked his hat off, and he got real real self-conscious. Yeah.
Well, there was that one episode I saw where he actually took it off to share with everyone that it was completely bald on top. I saw that one episode he did it.
So brave.
Wow.
Bradley Martin is cruising for a bruising lately. I don't know if you're paying attention to him picking fights with.
It's like the new influencer move. Like finding this guy you can fight.
He's trying to pick a fight with like a bunch of UFC guys. Well, apparently he picked a fight with Demetrius Johnson. He was only picking fights with guys smaller than him. But Demetrius Johnson is like, he's like basically like Bruce Lee. You know, if like Bruce Lee was like doing UFC, and like he's small, but he's so highly talented. He's they're gonna only have a grappling match, so I mean, he's just fucked. Bradley Martin is fucked. There's no time limit, so Demetrius Johnson, it's like a bug in a spider's web basically, and Demetrius Johnson's just gonna make him look goofy. He's going to make him tired, and then he's going to choke him out 8 ways from Sunday, or whatever the phrase is.
I'm going to show people how out of touch I am. I don't even know who he is.
Well,
Bradley Martin?
That's okay.
No, I don't pay any
Bradley
attention to like social
Bradley
media or
Martin?
anything.
You've not heard? Good Lord.
I live under a rock, guys. Like
gossip on the
people
internet.
all the time message me like, "What do you think of this person? What do you think of that person?" I'm like, I don't know, man. I literally make videos. I go to the gym. I check my email. I work. That's all I do. I don't care about other people.
Yeah. I this kind of like takes us back to the whole Iain thing. I think that's a big part of why people like Hottie and Brandon Curry like do so well, because they're not on social media like at all. It seems, they're not hearing all the flack and bullshit. They're just training and doing their thing and getting the job done and showing up and embarrassing people. So it's like, it's a good thing to stay off of it as much as possible.
I only interact with the assholes that interact with me. So I don't know. I'm so out of touch. Like I literally don't like. I don't. If you ask me to talk about what the top 10 movies or songs are right now, I have no idea.
It's good.
So,
yeah,
Colton.
So disconnected too. Yeah.
Colton, do you feel comfortable answering a question about your blood work, or do you want to save it for?
No, I don't care. Go for it.
Okay. Am I correct that there's a great discrepancy between your AST and ALT?
Yeah, but I don't know if you caught the message before that. Literally, the only time I could get that blood work done prior to going to Thailand was after a training session, and it just happened to be pretty.
So maybe I got this wrong, but I thought that if AST and ALT are in balance, then the elevation is due to muscle. But if the ALT is elevated in isolation, then it's liver.
Yeah, and that's what I understand as well. But I got a liver ultrasound like 2 days before that, and it was relatively fine. So it's possible, because my white blood cells were a little elevated, that there might be something wrong with my GI tract. I don't know, but
Maybe a viral infection too, possibly. Like,
yeah,
it was your C-reactive protein elevated at all?
a little
Okay.
touch, but yeah.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
that could just be because I think I've got one too. I'd never get blood noses, and I just got one recently. My blood work showed a high C-reactive protein reading, high ALT, slightly elevated AST, but my GGT super low.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah, that's exactly the same thing.
My I just got my blood work done, and I didn't get all of it back yet. I got all the basic bitch stuff back yet, but not any of the bodybuilder stuff back yet. So my AST and ALT were not, the discrepancy wasn't as great as yours, but my ALT is higher than my AST, and both of them are higher than they should be. But I also had a cold. My white cells were up. My C-reactive protein was at a 6. My lymphocytes and neutrophils were up. So I figure I was either overtrained and sick or just sick. And I wasn't sure whether or not that would have a contributing factor to the elevation in the ALT and AST.
I believe it does, because the mast cells are, hyperreactive to immune response. Then you get that sudden sort of attacking. Like, I think about it as like you have these immune cells that come to any environment that is potentially having a defect, and then just like shooting a machine gun and killing everything, like good tissue, bad tissue.
It's just interesting. So like my creatinine was normal, but my AST and ALT are elevated. I always thought that those went hand in hand. And the only hypothesis I could come up with that would explain this was by not training to failure, my creatinine wasn't elevated, but my volume is too high. So my AST and ALT are elevated. And then because of the infection, the ALT is higher than the AST. That's the best I could come up with.
I think that's plausible. When I had glandular fever, glandular fever, my ALT, AST were 10 times the max range.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was literally on nothing, and pretty much like not really training at all, because obviously I had glandular fever. But yeah, it was that high. So I definitely think the liver takes a massive hit, depending on obviously the magnitude of the viral infection present.
So you go back to Colton, your ALT was what, 2 or 3 times your AST, right?
I can't remember, but it was somewhere around that.
And then
what
was your GGT at? Do you remember the exact
like
number?
16.
16, so it's really low.
So like low normal range.
Yeah.
Because it's supposedly a 22, 23, 24 is normal range, but it's not healthy. That's what's ambiguous about that.
Yeah. I mean, generally, I feel fine for the most part, outside of like having some moderate digestive issues recently, and that's kind of what made me think it could be. And training prior to getting that done, and plausibly being a little bit dehydrated as well. There's so many cofactors to that situation. I always
have a hard time identifying whether someone's dehydrated or not. I always thought that if their sodium is high, they're dehydrated, and if their sodium is low, then they're overhydrated. Yeah. Is there an easier way to determine hydration status, like albumin or whatnot?
I go off albumin personally.
Okay.
Sodium too, though.
Yeah, because I mean, it seems that all the solutes would have to be concentrated for it to be simple dehydration.
That's why I also get a urinalysis, because the urinalysis is like fucking $20, and it has specific gravity, which will definitively tell you you're dehydrated. And if you have a high specific gravity, okay, you're very dehydrated. This blood analysis.
I see. Okay, yeah. So you're not doing it for what it's used for. You're using it indirectly to validate or invalidate all the other findings.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
and
smart.
if I do happen to have a kidney issue, and I didn't test cystatin C, maybe it would be present within the urinalysis. But
what I used to do is, before I knew about cystatin C, I used to disregard the creatinine because it usually was training related, but I would look to see how much protein was in the urine. And if the protein was in the urine was on a trend up or elevated, then maybe they were leaking protein because they had nephropathy.
When you were on Tren for a year, did you experience any kidney issues?
You were on for more than a year, right?
Yeah,
years.
10 years.
I really think, in addition to genetics, I think it's like dose dependent too. Like, if you're on such
I was running
dose, like you were saying,
20 or 30 milligrams a day in the off season, and then I would I was off in the off season, and I would run it in the pre-contest. But yes, there was a couple years where I ran Nandrolone and Tren, but I was running like 1,400 Nandrolone and like 100 Tren. I was using the Tren for its androgenic effects. That was it. It wasn't the right choice. I was also running Anavar, and I think the reason why the system worked was the Anavar was actually the one that was working as the DHT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of concerned when dudes use Nandrolone only about penile atrophy. I just think that's something no one has talked about. And I know it sounds like odd, but like when you think about it, DHT is the signaling molecule to penile growth and maintenance. And if you're losing that shit, I don't know.
Yeah. DHN isn't a good substitute. Yeah.
Everyone says that, but I had a very low estrogen and almost no DHT, like a 2 DHT and a 6 estrogen for years. My dick did not get smaller.
They get bigger?
I think I gained a half an inch over an 8-year period.
Hell yeah, dude.
I actually, fun fact, I used to play bass for penile atrophy back in college.
That was the man.
Well, I was a different person then. But
I swear, and maybe I'm wrong. I swear, since I pushed the growth hormone up, that things got bigger,
dude. Yeah, a combination of Cialis and growth hormone. I for sure have noticed a difference.
I thought it was in my head too, but I've been using growth hormone for about 10 years now. And I've also been using Viagra or Cialis or whatever for like 5 or 6. And it's definitely made a difference. And it's funny because I can't say half this shit on YouTube. Forget it. It's okay.
One of the off-label uses for Cialis is the prevention of penile atrophy in older populations. So I think there's definitely, in conjunction with growth promotion agents, I think there's definitely something. And it's always funny because the mainstream thinks that steroids shrink your dick, when in reality it's you're taking the agents that are used when people have micro penis issues to grow them. It's I don't know.
We've got the audience engaged now, man. They're on point now. It's wait, I can grow my dick.
So this is the unfortunate thing, is that all this shit makes it longer. I don't think any of it makes it thicker.
No,
so
that's what I
pointless cosmetic benefit that is almost detrimental in most cases. Since
I like having those good hang days, and when I take Cialis, I have those good hang days. That's a confidence boost, man. I don't care if it's just cosmetic.
When you can just turn around and hit it any moment, it's kind of nice.
Yeah. So you can just at a moment's notice just do the helicopter even on a cold day. That's you can't put a price on that.
We're excited about this topic.
Cialis.
Here's the thing, guys, listen to me. This is important. The cervix is only 5 inches deep. 5 inches deep. So 5 inches deep. So if the average length of 5.1, the average guy has enough length. It's only width that actually matters.
I don't think so, man. I really don't think.
Because I understand girls will say anything smaller than 7 inches is pathetic, and they'll say shit that is mean like that. But I think they say that just to hurt people. I don't think that they really want some massive dick. I think they just say that.
But if there's such a large kind of, I suppose, range, such a broad range for penis length, surely there is a range for
right,
the depth. Yeah, that's what I always thought. So not to be racist or anything, but would black women have a deep, you get what I mean?
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
You mean.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
Without being racist, I'm going to be racist.
So I have to say, from personal experience, that's backwards in my experience. That is not the case.
But there's a good
thing up for the black girls out there.
There's probably some variability in depth within females, because the cervical tissue has the capability to give a female an orgasm too. It's orgasmic to
I see what you're saying. So pounding the shit out of them actually works for some.
Yeah. So
we should have brought this up last week when we had DJ here.
I know.
No, I think that would make
missed opportunity.
I'll be honest, I just stopped watching that episode. I just felt a little bit awkward. I was like, okay, I'm going to get a bed.
Oh my God.
I'm big and black, and trust me, I don't know if you're a boy though, or a girl. If no, it doesn't help at all.
I don't believe it.
Demonetization
Big
at
old
an hour and
penis.
4 minutes.
Can't, how much fun could it be? I don't know.
But I swear, and I'm not making. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's in my head, but I swear the growth hormone.
No, it does, dude. It makes a difference. And Tina Carlson, PhD, just said that it's all about width. So she's the doctor. She's definitely right.
She's a doctor, so her opinion matters.
And you know what? Like, worst case scenario, if you don't get any additional like penile hypertrophy, like it's going to cause testicular atrophy being on, so it's going to by illusion make your penis look bigger anyway.
Yeah, and what's that? I can't remember
but you can keep your dick pics. We're not interested in seeing your dick, dude.
What's the tissue, the fat pad above the penis?
Well, a fat pad should be small because that makes we don't want the fat pad above the penis.
Yeah,
right. So if you lose weight, most of the time your dick will literally get bigger too.
Yeah, every girl knows that trick. Yeah, that's
and they'll be able to see it as well.
Same thing with shaving it. They say they definitely want to shave it to make it look bigger.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I always make fun of guys who send dick pics that have hair on their dick. They're like, this guy has no clue what he's doing. He did not groom this at all, and he used a flash.
It's hilarious how we were getting like the comments slowed way down during the training session.
And
now they're rapid fire. I can't keep up.
I got a lot of dick figure. It's like,
serious question. This is like I suppose a bit of a debate. How do you measure it from the base at the top or the base underneath to the tip?
I truly think it's
top. Yeah, me too. I think so. I think so too, because measuring it from beneath is kind of like measuring your horsepower as crank horsepower instead of wheel horsepower. It's like just like no, like don't just do it from the top. Like I don't know. That's why I've seen it.
Like, are you going to be able to get that part even in there? To make a difference,
yeah.
Like you're gonna have to like angle your body.
There's like the active ingredients and the inactive ingredients, you know. You're measuring the inactive ingredients too. Like, you don't measure from your butthole.
You're trying to get nutsack penetration too.
Dude, are we counting taint? Are we counting taint?
Joshua Perry says base of the anus to 1 inch.
Standard. Absolutely.
Oh, that was a good one. Oh man,
important topic of conversation today. Do you want to?
If you squint, it's mint.
Let's redirect the conversation into training.
Oh no!
Let's talk about some steroids.
Yeah.
Let's get steroid questions.
Oh yeah, what kind of have we got any like good questions that have come through?
The penile is not atrophying.
Or does everyone just want to send their dick pics through?
I'm afraid to do. I'm afraid to do a rate my physique today.
Do not tempt people, man.
Rate my physique, like you son of a bitch.
I just ate. Paul's going to make this the title of the episode.
No, I'm going to carve out this. This is going to be a short. This definitely deserves a video by itself.
Wait, now Brandon, don't go yet. What did you play?
Dick chat.
What did you play?
He's gone. He's already gone.
He wanted to. Yeah, this is like back from
Rogue.
The beginning.
He gave us $20. He gave us 10. And
Brandon's a big spender, and he likes to be heard.
He
so
just got divorced. So he's got to put it somewhere.
He's a real MVP.
I love the Renaissance.
We're like
too, man.
His pre-stripper strippers. He just makes it rain for us. He gets it ready.
Speaking of D&D and all that sort of stuff, anybody ever play Warhammer? I was real big in that.
Oh my god, I went down the Warhammer rabbit hole.
So expensive now. It used to be like $2 a pot for like a 1 ounce pot of paint. Now it's like $14 for a pot. I'm like, what?
Oh my god.
Yeah,
it's like a flex to have like a full fucking army now. You know, it's like
because it means that you've spent a house deposit on models.
It's so funny.
Used to play those games.
You know, Henry Clavell is supposed to have got optioned the Warhammer series.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah,
He's gonna
that'll
be
be good
making some
actually.
content.
I think he's like locking it in so they can't fire him from this.
Yeah, I think I think he like owns everything, so he can sort of shape it according to his vision and not have to compromise.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah, I
Which
know
is
he
like-
left. I know
Apparently why he
left
left
Witcher.
why he left The Witcher. Yeah, 'cause,
Yeah.
like, he didn't appreciate the fact that they were forcing him to like portray the character in a way that compromised the original like vision of the books.
Yeah,
And he's like, that's not what I signed up for.
Blood Origin was an absolute abortion of a show that should not have been considered.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch
Terrible.
it. I'm not going to watch it. I just
I
pretend
forgot
things
I
like
didn't
that don't
watch it.
exist. You know, like,
It's so
it just
funny.
pisses me off.
I was like, it's like the Wheel of Time. Like Wheel of Time, they basically changed the race of every character.
They
And
ruined it.
I don't know if it's
Yeah.
ruined it. It was still good. And had you never read the books, I wouldn't even noticed. It's just like, it just was bugging me that it's like,
It's one of my favorite books of all time, and yeah, they botched it, man. It's the same thing with The Witcher. Like The Witcher, I love The Witcher books. I went through all of them, and then the show, the first couple seasons were okay, and then it just got bad.
Wait, Paul, did you just say that your favorite series of books of all time is The Wheel of Time?
Yeah, one of them. Yeah.
Oh my God. I know we were best friends before, but now this is weird.
It's
What was
that
your
and
favorite
Dune.
book?
That I like the first one. Yeah.
The first one, my
Dune
favorite
is great.
was the fourth one, Shadow
They-
Rising.
The Dune film, the new Dune film, they did a good job at remaking that. I thought they were going to like do
Yeah,
a
that
real
was-
bad job, but
No,
it was
It's
pretty true. Yeah,
Zendaya
That's
was
why
very
it's
in the
good.
movie.
That's why it's good.
The director,
Yeah.
he apparently on set, like anytime people had a question, he had like everybody had a book. He gave up books to everybody working on the fucking movie. Anytime somebody came to him with a question, he would just be like, "What's the book say?" You know, like
that's how it should be. Yeah,
that's how it should be. Yeah, it's like, and lo and
Yeah.
behold, it's a good fucking movie. You know, it's
Dune is
critically
my
acclaimed.
favorite
The
book of
fans
all
like
time.
it. But then like other shit, like another one of my favorites is like the Dark Tower series by Stephen King.
Oh,
and
they fucked that
Oh
up.
yeah.
Oh,
exactly,
they fucked that
exactly.
up.
It hurts, you know.
And that's a situation where changing a character's race is fine because it's Idris Elba. I love that guy.
Yeah.
It's fine because it's Idris Elba.
It's like,
He can do no wrong.
James Bond, Roland of Gilead. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
Stringer Bell's all right by me.
Idris Elba's a cool dude.
Heimdall, what the
Heimdall,
god
yeah.
of vision from Norse
Well, we're
mythology.
letting our nerd flags
Yeah,
fly. We
we should
need
probably rein it
need
in. Get
Planet Mike here to tell us that we're not getting laid.
no, nobody here is F and P. Oh my god, we're embarrassment. We're an
Nobody.
embarrassment to males everywhere. Let's run through some questions. Brandon, who's also left, he had a question as well. What's your shoulder training look like with the labrum tears, Paul? He said he's had one for a year, has an imbalance in his shoulders, but nowhere else other than potentially mentally. Will do surgery eventually.
Colin's got a front row seat to my shoulder training.
Yeah.
I do what I can. I mean, I can't do any dumbbell shoulder presses anymore. It's weird. So like if I can do my hands at an angle, if I go straight back, no good.
Which
No
is what
good.
you want to do.
You're not
anyways,
supposed to
really.
be behind the scapular plane anyway.
Yeah, I can't. So I do. We have the Atlantis machine press at our gym, and it's so freaking great, man. They have a 45-degree angle handle and a one that goes straight back, and I get the one that's at the 45, and it's just perfect. So I'm using all machine presses. I had to lay off the dumbbell lateral raises for a long time. They were really causing me problems, but we're back on them now. I seem to be okay with those, but upright rows don't bother me. It's mostly overhead movements that get me. So it's
you know what might be a good one for you? Behind body lateral partials, not doing like the full range, but just pulsing in that long stretch position.
Yeah,
that might be
that's
good
an
for you.
idea.
Yeah.
And one has a lot of videos on their Instagram about that one.
Right. I think Todd told me the greatest training advice of all time. I remember this is another Toddism, and I'm like, hey man, this exercise hurts. What should I do? And Todd goes, don't do it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because
If it hurts, don't do it.
Literally
it's the best
the oldest
proxy,
joke in the
yeah.
book too. It's like the doctor, you know, like, saying, like, doctor, it hurts when I do this.
Don't do that.
Don't do
I'm
this.
like, hey Todd, skull crushers hurt when I do them. What can I do? Don't do them.
Yeah.
My head was just like, I'm like, what? That's an option.
It's funny because we do get in our own heads and we start to like get paralysis by over analysis because we're obviously like thinking about this shit 24/7. So it's easy to kind of just let that simple, like logical, rational, I suppose, reasoning just slip our mind, and then when we hear it, it's music to our ears. We're like, oh wow.
I've always had that meathead mentality where I have to gut through things. Where I'm just like, if it hurts, I'm just going to keep fucking doing it, or my elbows are screaming, then maybe I should keep doing it. But
real men don't run from fear. Real men don't run from pain.
Yeah.
When real men hear screaming, they run towards it. You know, that's how we're all raised. And so the most painful, difficult thing that hurts you the most and you hate is the one that is what you think you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
It was like my elbows were always hurting, and then it was just as simple as removing skull crushers from my routine. That was the source of all my elbow issues.
Yeah.
No more elbow pain.
Do you guys ever get like that pain like through your forearm here, like when you squeeze and grip and go different like angles like that? I found I usually get that if I'm doing things where I'm not like really engaging my grip. And I found that if like say I'm doing like a cuff, like cable lateral raise or something, and I'll kind of feel that pain unless I like squeeze my fist, like I'm like gripping something and going through it, or like even like a dip. If I would like push with my hands open, I would kind of like feel like some weird pains going through my forearms.
Almost like a shattering, aching feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know exactly
I used to get close grip bench did that for me when I used to do powerlifting back in the day. Like got to the point where like I would unrack the bar and it was almost like the sheer like discomfort caused me to drop the bar to my chest.
Yeah.
It
almost
not
feels like
nice
shin
feeling.
splints almost, but in your arm.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
used to get that when I would do of all things, just like curls,
right?
Back in the day with
Sometimes,
like the easy curl bar. Back in the day,
sure.
I would get like with heavy weight, I would get that feeling like, I don't know.
Yeah, I found anytime I start to feel that, I just like clench my grip tighter because I just felt like if my hands are loose or open when I'm pushing through that, just something's not activating in here, right?
Direct forearm training helps too, like wrist curls, reverse wrist curls. I found that helps. Yeah, I do that. Yeah, I do that a bit every now and then, like just to warm up. But I never directly trained my forearms. But I mean, just from construction work back in the day, they got pretty built.
Yeah. Guys, I just want to point out that the comments have radically slowed down since we stopped talking about dicks.
Penile.
All right, let's talk about.
It makes you
sprinkle some Cialis on the comment section.
Yeah.
bring it back to life.
So one thing that Kuba Cillian does is he holds, even if he's got the wrist cuff on his wrist, he will still hold the D handle and squeeze it.
Yeah.
So his forearm isn't the limiting component because the wrist is an extra joint in the circuit, but he squeeze it because of the neural activity that it drives through the whole arm. What I started to do instead is I bring my fat grips with me, and instead of putting the fat grip on a dumbbell, I just hold the fat grip itself.
Yeah,
it increases your neural drive. Yeah, you can actually move more weight if you do that.
Right. John made a video about that, but also like I shoot a lot of in the military. Yeah, John Jewett. And I was in the military for 8 years, whatever. But like one of the big things is people like grab the grips on a rifle, like they squeeze really hard. But what you're supposed to do is just like tense your forearm. You're not supposed to grab hard. You tense your forearm and your hand doesn't move. So you don't have like ulnar deviation when you're shooting the gun. And it's kind of the same thing. It's what I feel like when you grab something, you're preventing your wrist from having ulnar deviation. And that's, limiting pain.
Yeah.
I think back to jujitsu when it comes to grips.
I was just about to say, Paul,
Yeah.
Where I was going to.
Yeah, with jiu-jitsu, you can talk about it, Colin.
I mean, I was just thinking about like in jiu-jitsu how it took me like
you hold it like this.
God bless America.
You squeeze it, but you're not squeezing it. You're just flexing your forearm. It's like if I flex my forearm, the gun doesn't move very much, but if I just squeeze,
Yeah.
I can move this thing everywhere, you know?
When in Texas.
I'll go get mine too.
Yeah, you guys aren't allowed to have guns. Hey, I got a
Yeah,
question
I
about
wish.
that.
Yeah,
I live in Virginia.
I wish I was allowed to have some freedom.
So my understanding
I tell
is
you, man, I didn't have one, but what was it, 2020, when fucking like people were starting to act weird about toilet paper? Fucking motherfuckers just started getting like a little glint in their eye that I did not appreciate. And for the first time in my life, I went out and I bought one, and I got that just in case of a rainy day, you know.
Exactly. You never know.
so. Tell me if this is true. So we were told here that in Australia, they were rounding up people and putting them in concentration camps because they didn't have guns to defend themselves during COVID. Is that accurate, or is that like twisted? What is that?
That's a bit twisted. So basically, it was pretty much like martial law, essentially. Like they had police in the streets. If you were out away from your place beyond a certain radius, you would get fined. If you were out after a certain time at night, you'd get fined. Like in the early stages of it, was messed up. And if you're allowed to go out to exercise for 30 minutes a day or something like that initially. If you were out like more than 30 minutes, they would fine you or like question you. It was stupid. But apparently a lot of the fines were redacted not long later. Like apparently they were I think it was like unlawful fines or something like that. I didn't look into it enough because I just hate all that political shit too much. But Australia is a real nanny state. Like, I mean, there was one guy that shot up a bunch of people in a single venue in Tasmania, which you could even argue isn't really part of Australia. They kind of detached from the country on a little bit of like land. But that happened, and that was enough for them to warrant basically rounding up all privately owned weapons and guns back in the 90s. And so, yeah, that was when the gun laws changed. So you're not allowed to have a gun really in Australia unless if you basically go through the whole licensing process. Then you have to have it like detached in like 3 different parts, locked away in different areas of the house when you're not using it. And you can only use it on a range. That's what it's so pedantic. And I understand, I mean, people make this point of like, yeah, we haven't really had any shootings. It's like, yeah, well, you can't if no one has a gun. Like, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Like,
right?
It's not. They talk about it like it's an achievement. It's like it's the same thing. It's like, oh yeah, we cured obesity. It's like, yeah, but you just locked all the fat people up in prison and you don't give them access to the foods they want to eat. Like, how is that? You haven't really solved an issue. Just it's almost like a band-aid, I guess.
Meanwhile, Colton has an AR.
People kill people. Like guns don't kill people.
Next to his cereal.
Yeah. Well, he's in Texas and he's a soldier. Well, that's good that I finally got the straight answer because I don't want to spread misinformation. But I'll leave that to the news.
The C word definitely gets you in trouble on YouTube. They don't like you talking about it.
Can I ask a question about the flu? The recent flu, at least. Have any of your clients came down with it yet? The new one?
I've had a couple.
I think
I've had like 3.
I've had the sniffles for like 3 weeks now.
My partner was sick for like a few weeks. I didn't get anything, thankfully. Like, knock on wood.
I've had a little bit of a bug this week.
Yeah, it's been 3 weeks. It's got to be what it is because it's the mildest cold I've ever had, and it will not go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This guy wants to know what our favorite carb sources are to fill up before a show. He's asked like 800 times, and then he paid.
Well,
Rice.
A lot of it's gonna. Why would he
say
ask?
We should block him if he hasn't paid.
Right.
If he's asking for reference for himself, he should probably be auditing what he's been eating throughout his prep.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't throw in new sources. But if he's asking for future reference, I mean, yeah, things like rice, like you guys said, rice cakes, even though it's like rice, just in a different form.
Like,
he's like, fuck,
if you
that's
can,
it.
Cream of rice,
if you can combine
Rice
like,
Krispie treats,
glucose and
word
fructose
rice
together would be the key.
Glycerol in Rice Krispies too, which helps with filling out. I think there's a little bit of glycerol. I didn't realize that, but
is that the marshmallows?
Yeah, I think so. There's a bit of glycerol in it. I remember reading the ingredient label.
Plus, they're delicious.
Yeah.
I recently spoke with an IFBB pro that told me that he worked with Milos, and like for his carb up, they did let's see, it was 2,400 grams of carbs for his carb up and it was half of it was from dextrose, half of it was from rice, and 100 units of Lantus, 190 units of Humalog.
Wait, is that in one day?
One day.
I remember who's the
I don't know
guy?
if it's true or not, but that's what I was told.
It's pretty cool.
Jamie Johal.
Sounds
I think
legit.
that's his name.
Yeah, Jamie the
he
Giant.
documented his carb up, and it was 5,500 carbohydrates in 3 days.
Wow.
Fucking insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Insane. But I think the simple answer to this is white rice, some fructose like honey, and then a little bit of fats towards the end once you start noticing that water is becoming more of a problem.
Yeah. What I usually do to people, it's like I'll get them to have some sort of a combination of Rice Krispie cereal or something with a bit of fruit in it and a bit of honey over it and a bit of salt. And I'll get them to have that with like a protein shake poured over it or whatever. Usually no dairy and stuff, obviously. You don't want them to shit the bed. And then, just small top-ups with either rice cakes and jam or Rice Krispie treats, like stuff like that.
I would think
it's stuff that's going to like digest easy that won't cause, I suppose, a lot of distension.
I would think that the guy talking about the dextrose that would cause you might get some diarrhea from that, man.
Or like even just like water pulled into the digestive tract because of the osmolarity.
Right.
Like you'd rather go a highly branched chain cyclic dextrin because it causes less pooling of like fluid in the digestive tract. He said he was
mixing the dextrose with his rice. That's what he was doing.
Oh, that's a stand-efforting thing.
If it was like a diet. Stand-efforting adds 10 grams of dextrose. So if you're going over that,
nothing.
Yeah.
I remember when I was at the Olympia working the Redcon booth, George Peterson was there, and we had like this little break. Yeah, we had this little break room in the middle of it, and there were like 3 different meals that he had, and I caught him on one of them, like what he was eating, and it was just like a ton of potatoes and a little bit of chicken, and I asked him, I was like, is that like what you typically carb up on? And he's like, today I'm having 6 meals of this. And it was like,
well, that might be why he's dead too.
Hyperkalemia from all that.
Hyperkalemic,
but I mean, so he
too
apparently
much potassium stops your heart, kids.
Apparently did it on a lot of potatoes. But
I don't think anyone's known that.
That was like Friday or Saturday or something.
Yeah, that's really dumb. And then you take a potassium sparing diuretic on top of it. That's smart.
I'm sure he did. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah, well, we know how that worked out.
Wouldn't surprise
That's
me.
really fucked up though, because I always assumed it was something else that killed him. I didn't know he OD'd on potatoes.
Well, we don't know that, but that
sounds so pathetic.
Folks, let's clarify. We don't know that for sure.
I don't think that's what happened. I'm just saying that's what I saw him carbon up on. So.
But that I always warn my clients, man, when we get towards the end of contest prep, stay off the potatoes. I see it all the time, and then dudes are taking telmisartan too, and then that exacerbates the problem even more.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah,
Love me some telmisartan.
Yeah, people need to understand like the actual, I suppose, pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics of the shit that they're putting in the body. If you don't understand that, like, you could be royally messing yourself up and shooting yourself in the foot with your diet.
Yeah, I had one of my clients that was getting really bad cramps, and I had him go get blood work done, and he was hyperkalemic, and I found out he was eating potatoes, and he's also taking telmisartan. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah.
Very shit.
Yeah.
Got a question here from Jason Koch. If you're trying to eat the healthiest diet possible and bodybuild veggies and shit, would it be a good idea to get more calories from healthy fats? Evo, extra virgin olive oil?
If you can find real olive oil, good for you, man, because most of it's counterfeit.
Hold on. There's a third-party reviewed one I have in my fucking...
I've read 3 different third-party reviews, and all of them were paid for. So there was completely different lists. And then one of them is like, Bertelli's the very best.
Colvita is the one that I know of that's third-party reviewed. But
so it's funny. I've done a video on olive oil and a really easy way to test it. And you take a sip of it, let it like sit in your mouth for a while, and then swallow it. And if you get a like crazy burn in the back of your throat, that's the like anti-inflammatory bits that olive oil has. It will burn the back of your throat. And you'll
It's
get a
actually
cough from it.
it's the righteousness of it's the Holy Spirit, the righteousness of Jesus. It burns the back of your throat, and that's because it is
So
actually it's still virgin. The
I
olive oil.
was waiting for
Extra
some real
virgin.
insight. I was waiting for some real insightful sentence to come out of your mouth, and then I just said that, and I'm like, oh fuck.
Damn it.
I love meeting new people when they still expect to hear something insightful when I start to speak. They're like, oh, I think he's cooking. I think he's onto something. And Paul knows better. He's just like, just say it. Just say whatever
like
bullshit you're gonna say.
So like in olive oil competitions, they'll rate them by 1 cough, 2 cough, or 3 cough olive oils. So if you get 3 coughs from it, it's like a very, very strong, highly antioxidant olive oil. And Colavita is what I use as well, because it's one of the few ones that I found at the grocery store that actually gives me a cough from it. Whereas a lot of the other ones, they just, are mixed with something else and either like old olive oil or something like that. So
that's another problem.
Rancid, yeah.
You want to use it, if you spend the money to get a good olive oil, use it pretty quickly, because that's a mistake some people make. They like spend a bunch of money on it. Olive oil, and they're like, I want to make it last. Like, nah, dog, it's gonna go bad. It depreciates in quality pretty quickly. Once
you got to get a dark bottle, keep it out of the sunlight, and then people love to put it right next to their stove, next to the heat too, which is another dumb idea.
I do that. I put it right, literally touching.
Oh God, Todd.
Yeah,
dumb fucker. Like,
that explains a lot.
Olive oil next, like I've got.
So answer his question. Olive oil is good.
I reckon a little bit of
olive oil.
A little bit of dark chocolate too. If it's more than 85% cocoa, I think it's good, just with the polyphenol count. If you don't overdo it, obviously it's all dose dependent. Like it's a lot of a lot of minerals, I suppose you probably like overdo if you eat like a block of it a day.
And nitrates are good for you, but the one thing that I think a lot of people miss, and I made a video about this, is oxalate content, because a lot of motherfuckers eat spinach,
and
dark
certain
chocolate,
vegetables
and
too high in oxalate. And
then that's going to be your kidney problems right there. You're done.
Yeah,
that's actually how Popeye died.
Yeah.
It's very sad. We got another one here from Flair 93. Hey guys, I have seen UGL HGH being tested for dimer and related proteins. Why is this important? Should you only buy UGL HGH that has none of it? Homeboy paid for it. So
yep.
You can get the answer again.
So I think I get a report on my brand, and it's 98%. I think is usually what it clocks in at for the dimer count. Paul, what were you saying? You were explaining to me the dimer thing once before. It's
misfolded proteins, from what I understand, right? It's basically what that is. It's the purity of it.
It's 98%. That means 98% is folded correctly, and then 2% is folded incorrectly, I would assume.
I'd imagine it wouldn't occur that often, though, would it? Because recombinant technology is pretty refined now. Like, it's pretty idiot-proof.
Yeah.
Like, because it's been around. I mean, I think maybe like 10, 15 years ago, it would have been a lot more common than it is now.
I asked Kurt about it, and he said it's not even worth worrying about. That's what he told me.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You're probably better off worrying more about how denatured it is in the transit process,
right?
From like the source to you, like, yeah.
What is Colton doing? Oh, there he is. I thought he was taking his shirt off.
He is taking his shirt off.
Good.
He's got a tank top on now.
I mean, the girls are already loving. We don't need any.
What's the weather like there, Colton?
I like how none of the girls message me about the dick conversation, but they're messaging me about the olive oil conversation. Just to indicate that they're not going to come forward and reveal their mysterious feminine secrets. So
the temperatures, it's actually starting to cool down, but it's been about 112, 115. It's been nasty.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's
been nice. Yeah, fuck that.
Got a question here from YT Burr. Do you need to cycle off insulin? Usage only on training days, 15 to 20 IU total pre and post, or can you use it all year provided insulin sensitivity stays okay?
I mean, I would
mean,
say
I think what he's okay. So putting that parentheses in the middle of the sentence really killed that sentence hard. Basically,
Yeah.
do you need to cycle off insulin, or can you use it year round, provided insulin sensitivity stays okay? I think you can use it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean the only thing is having a high serum insulin will elevate HMG coenzyme A, which will increase cholesterol synthesis. So if you have high lipoproteins and you specifically test lipoprotein B and see like, hey, this is relatively high, I would say probably take it out for a while and lower carbohydrate intake. But it's contextual. Like if you're cutting, you don't want to be using a copious amount of insulin if you don't have the carbohydrate. You know, insulin is used in the place of having a diet that already is a constituent of high carbohydrate diet. If you're just using insulin to use insulin, then you don't necessarily need it.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me he would have actually dieted on insulin.
Yeah,
So I shouldn't have said yes. I just thought that they meant I don't know. I didn't think
I don't know
used
either,
insulin dieting.
Yeah. There's so many unknown variables in this question that it's hard to say. Like, how many days a week is he training? Because if you're taking it only on training days, like you're training 6 days a week, you're a nutcase training 7 days a week, or you're training 4 a week, like that sort of thing. And then, I mean, what's the body fat like? What's your genetic predisposition? Do you have diabetes running in your family? That sort of thing. Like, what was your HbA1c test last, if you even tested it? Like, I mean, like, I think you guys would probably agree with me. The approach that you probably take, provided that you don't have any like genetic predispositions to diabetes and stuff, and provided your body comp's good, you do daily cardio, your diet's in check, maybe like a basal dose of like Lantus in the background year round, where you have it slightly higher in a push-up phase and lower in like a maintenance phase or a deficit, and then only have Humalog in when you're doing a big push-up phase when the calories really high, maybe only on your high days, that sort of thing, around your peri-workout nutrition, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's another assumption I'd made, is I assumed that he also was using Lantus, and he wasn't asking about the Lantus. He was just asking about the Humulin on top of the Lantus. But you're right. He didn't say that he was using Lantus. I assumed he was using Lantus.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's the assumption I worked up to. Okay, off season. Yeah, well, I think, I don't know, a lot of people would probably get away with just, I mean, some people get away with not even needing it really, like, but I mean, maybe just a basal dose of Lantus in the background. Maybe if your glucose is a little bit out of whack around training, add in a couple IUs with your peri-workout nutrition. But
I mean, there is an argument to be made that running Lantus in the off season, I've heard people make this argument that you could actually save yourself from beta cell burnout long term from pounding all the carbs.
Lantus it has a unique ability to restore beta cell function, and it's definitely, I think, a prophylactic need in, you know, especially when carbohydrates are getting up to above 500, 600, 700 carbohydrates a day. I mean, that's like, that is so not normal for an average human.
Just to give this guy some peace of mind, like, I use Lantus now year round, unless I'm dieting, because I don't count that part of the year per se. It's a different phase. And then I use the Humalog pre-lift, and I'm not opposed to using it post-lift, but I'm not currently doing it. And I don't bother worrying about consequences, because I don't think using 5 units of insulin is going to make a difference. I mean, I can't foresee there being any consequence to using it.
Only a potential positive. I mean, I mean, N equals 1, so my I suppose feedback isn't really that relevant or important. But like I mean, I'm eating north of 800 carbs a day, like week long, like close to 1,000 some days. And I mean, I've been on Lantus for ages as like a basal kind of dose, and my HbA1c, without a doubt, every time it comes back 4.1, 4.2, which is pretty good.
It's really good.
Like
really
in a range of like 4 to 6, like. And I mean, I definitely attribute it to just being on point with your diet, doing daily cardio, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Do you titrate the dose across the off season?
Yeah, like as carbohydrates build up, it'll be titrated usually. So like start at like 10, and then maybe like bump up at 5 IU increments until you kind of like, find that happy medium with like your peak like carbohydrate load and the surplus. And
so
I mean,
are we talking about
like you guys? Yeah. And I mean, insulin should always be dosed based on blood glucose, and like our diet shouldn't be built around our insulin dose, like you always say. Like, I know you guys all agree with that, and that's where a lot of people go wrong, I think, and that's why insulin gets such a bad rap, because people just immaturely deploy it and they just get fat, and then it's more I think the fat accumulation that ruins their insulin sensitivity than the actual insulin. But they don't do that. They don't add 2 and 2 together. They just think, oh, it couldn't be me. It couldn't be my fault. It's got to be the insulin's fault. It's like, no, it's your fault because you're a dumb fuck. Like,
yeah.
They would have gotten fat with or without the insulin.
You're pounding 20 of Humalog with like a fucking McDouble and 2 large fries. You know, it's like,
hey, man, be careful talking about the McDoubles.
Now you're making me hungry.
Hurting my feelings, man.
We don't disrespect the golden arches around here.
Pause and prep too. We've got to be careful. Yeah.
Oh, pump the brakes.
Paul, are you getting that point in? You're getting that point in prep, Paul, where everything starts like tasting a lot more hyperpalatable. Like,
I mean, I'm to the point drinking Diet Mountain Dews. So
you have any fun dreams, Paul?
I told Colin this week I had a hot sweat dream where I woke up. I was eating pizza in the dream. And I woke up and I was like, "Oh my god, I fucked up my whole prep." This is the first week I've really had any hunger pangs. I'm 10 weeks out, so 6 weeks in. I mean, but he's got me eating a lot of food. It's weird that I'm getting hungry already.
Yeah,
I feel it's
good though.
It's irrespective. Oh, congratulations, man! I didn't know you just did a proposal.
Oh, that was ages ago. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. But yeah, it was. I proposed in, I think it was like the first month after my show, so around like May, June. June. It was June. Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. All right, where were we?
I was just fucking. I has an interesting question here from a nature girl. Is MK677 safe for a girl?
Well, it's not natural.
I just don't really think very highly of the compound in general. It just turns people into water buffaloes.
I mean, it works for some people, but it's just not the money you're going to spend. You might as well just buy a kid a growth hormone. And at the end of the day,
and talk about eating McDoubles. You're going to be pounding the McDoubles if you take MK677.
And for a female, insulin insensitivity is like the main cause of PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And just knowing that, I've seen guys have radically high glucose from using MK677 for a short period of time. I wouldn't want to see a girl developing insulin resistance and something that's long-term issues like PCOS.
Yeah.
I would say no.
Better, way better choices out there.
Yeah, the dose you have to use for like growth hormone is so effective for women. You could use 2 IUs and make exceptional progress, or even 1 IU, right?
Yeah.
And it's at that dose, it's so cheap. Just fucking use growth.
Yeah.
That's what I
like. And I mean, it's something like maybe like 3/4 of an IU AM and then 1/4 pre-training. Like that would be probably more than sufficient for a female or most females for what they're looking to achieve.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Todd's talking and he's muted, which it's kind of funny because he looks like he's trying to say something very proficient.
All right, muted.
Deep in thought.
Yeah.
All right. So what I was saying was that MK677 works as an appetite stimulant first, and then because of the ghrelin's secondary function is stimulating growth hormone release, that's what you're looking for. So. If someone's trying to lose fat, which is usually what, maybe you're trying to grow, but most women are trying to lose fat. If you're trying to lose fat, taking something that makes you hungrier, and it doesn't give you a hunger for chicken and rice, it gives you a hunger for like cookies,
McDonald's,
and chocolate, and bullshit. So it drives up appetite, doesn't drive up hunger. That's appetite is the emotional craving for fattening foods, whereas hunger is the need for nourishment. So it drives up appetite, makes you cheat on your diet more. You're going to get fatter on MK677. I've never seen it go well for women. And then as far as GH goes, if you're getting 1 unit, I mean, we're talking a normal kit is let's say I'm going to throw out some hypothetical numbers. A 100-unit kit is going to be like, let's say $200.
That's on the expensive end too.
That is an expensive
Yeah.
end. But let's say she's got a
Yeah.
shitty hookup and that's what she's paying.
Yeah.
You're still paying $60 a month for real GH for you versus
Yeah.
paying $80 for MK677.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nature Girl, I hope that answered all of your questions.
Mm.
Let's see here. We got one from Easy Peasy. Whoops.
Easy peasy.
Someone else. Who do you have top 3 in Milan tomorrow? Anybody have any
Roman.
guesses?
Is Roman
Roman.
competing? Yeah.
Yeah, Roman's competing.
Right. Roman will be in top 3. Yeah, easily.
Agreed.
Roman, Reagan. We got who else?
The
Blessings.
Yeah,
Blessing.
I think Regan looks insane, but
Yeah.
man, I don't know. It's tough because you haven't seen a lot of those dudes on stage for a minute. Besides Roman,
And it always with Regan, it always comes down to does he peak right?
Conditioning.
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
He
So
never got
Blessing
good.
is-
He's
I think because
I
he's
believe
not trying to
Roman's still
fit into that.
competing and he's qualified for the Olympia.
such
Right.
a
Yeah, well, he said
Well,
he's
he's
got
just
like
an
6.
animal.
He's got like 6 competitions between now and the Olympia in the next 8 weeks. Like, yeah, I mean, I admire that. Like, that's just impressive. But I mean, I think in all honesty, it's probably more of a detriment for Roman to like try not be in. Like, I mean, it's easier for Roman to stay in stage conditioning than it is for him to get soft. So I think, if anything, this is probably going to be more conducive to him looking his best at the Olympia than to have a break. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just my thoughts.
I think if he does,
the piece of the puzzle is, without giving too much of his details, he has a sponsor that compensates him for competition.
Okay.
So even if let's look at it, let's say it was me, all right? If I could make money doing every show, but I could lose the Olympia, I would rather focus on making money doing every show and do the Olympia just to do it, than shut it down, not make any money, do the Olympia, and not make any money.
That makes a lot of sense.
Not to mention he lives and breathes bodybuilding. He's not doing it for a title. He's just doing it because he literally loves the whole process. So, I mean, if you're doing it for that reason, like it would make logical sense to want to do as many shows as possible. Yeah. So it makes sense. Like he likes the whole process.
Could win. I mean, like he won one show, he could win more of them. So he could get 10 grand.
He's gonna make a lot more.
Financially
He's getting
compensated
paid to make 10 grand. He might make 30, 40. He could theoretically make 60 grand out of those 6 shows.
And then regardless what happens at the Olympia, he's going to walk away feeling happy.
Right.
Yeah.
He's going to make a couple bucks at the Olympia.
Yeah.
I think I forgot Nathan's competing. I think Nathan's probably going to take the one.
Nathan to Asher? Or?
Yeah. He looks fucking insane. He always looks crazy, and his waist is just so tiny. I don't know.
Yeah. I reckon maybe like, Nathan and then Roman, then either Regan or Blessing is the other top 3, but I don't know between Regan and Blessing. It'll come down to who looks better on the day, I think.
Yeah.
Like,
Did you see they had a $5,000 bet going?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't think Blessing's going to win, man. He's kind of not a factor anymore.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's too bad the live streams aren't stable. Otherwise, I would get it.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting distinction between appetite mental and hunger physical. We're learning, boys. I'm glad to help.
I felt the same way as you were saying it, Todd. I was like, oh, it's insightful. I hadn't really considered it that way before. And I'm not the only one.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Glad to be helpful.
It was cool. Let's see here. We got Tim Graw. My blood pressure is 140 on a test cycle. I need to get it into a normal range for a doctor's appointment so they don't cancel my Adderall.
Well, I think you should
Priorities there.
Maybe the Adderall is part of the problem.
I love this one.
I mean, to me, the common sense approach is take a blood pressure medication before your appointment.
Or fast before your appointment.
Or some Cialis.
I was gonna say fast. If you don't eat for like 24 hours, your blood pressure is gonna be super low.
It'll be low.
Yeah. and smoke a joint. calm the nerves. No, as long as you're not stressed, and fast, like you shouldn't have any issues.
No,
Yeah.
I would just take the Adderall out though.
Because
Well, let me ask you this: like, what's the point of this? Okay, are you trying to grow? Because I don't know why you try to grow on Adderall, because Adderall is going to make it hard to eat, and it's a stimulant.
Yeah, and it's the I can't remember the different sodium groups attached to it. There's like D3, or I can't remember the exact fucking ratio of it, but a lot of it is like physically induced epinephrine reaction. So like you get a hyper sort of physical system in a way, and not so much cognitive. Just take modafinil. Like it's not going to elevate blood pressure. It's not going to elevate heart rate, which will cause poor heart morphology. Like just take modafinil and get rid of the fucking literal meth that you're taking, you know?
Yeah. I've got a script for
okay, that makes more sense then. All right, well then drop the test, because you don't need test to lose fat. You should be on like Masteron and maybe a baby dose of Tren.
Well, he's just trying to pass the test so that he can keep his Adderall.
What I mean is that why would you cut with test when you could use better drugs for cutting than test? Because you're not going to grow muscle, so you don't need the estrogen to make IGF-1 from the GH, so you don't need test.
The Adderall things are if he's using it just for cutting and he's not using it because he has, I don't know, an issue focusing or ADHD or anything like that, like I mean I'd do exactly that. Lower testosterone, put a DHT in the mix, and then maybe, I mean, if he's not opposed to it, just a low dose of an oral that's not going to be too hepatotoxic, but something that will just take the edge off appetite. Because I mean, that's one of the, I suppose the indirect advantages of an oral anabolic is it can act as an appetite suppressant as well, in addition to obviously adding to the total anabolic load. But it comes down to the individual, and I mean, I'm not saying take an oral because it's not.
I've used in the past when I've had issues with appetite, I've used metformin. Metformin absolutely nukes my appetite.
Yeah, that does a pretty good job, doesn't it?
I found that out the hard way. After 2 years, Karina told me about, okay, I did some digging, and she like presented me with this whole big mess of information to get me to stop taking the metformin. And I was like, okay, that's a good point, because she had figured it out that she has a very complicated pathways and stuff, that it's 6 or 7 different ways that it's making it harder in the off season to grow on metformin.
Yeah, it increases leptin sensitivity. There's a bunch of things it does.
Yeah,
I mean,
usually for overweight people who are diabetic, which is what it's designed for. It's not designed for people to be a protectant against overdosing on GH. But berberine, like Paul basically figured it out. It's like primo and berberine off season, mast and metformin cutting.
Even better than just berberine now is Suppressor by First Detachment Nutrition.
Suppressor Max.
Suppressor Max. I thought you were going to say a 10-minute walk
with
Stan Efforting.
Save 10%.
The coolest.
Get off your ass.
Chromium picolinate.
I think for
most I remember going into a GNC and they're like, try push the chromium on. You're like, no, I don't want to ship product. keep it to yourself.
Man, last time I was in a GNC, this person walked in and was talking to the other person who happened to work there, and that person was like asking about protein because she wanted to lose weight, and I was just like looking at her, and I was like thinking this. So you're gonna drink a calorie drink because you want to lose weight. And then the protein powder she was picking was like 75% carbs. And I was just like, if you are going to do protein powder, maybe you should stick to a protein powder that's just protein, not half sugar. Yeah. And then she looked at me, looked at the person who worked there, who'd never touched a weight a day in their life. And it was very obvious. And then she looks and she goes, but this is for women. I'll go with what the employee recommends, and walked away. And I was like, all right. I'm thinking to myself, I tried to help. If she wants to get fatter, fuck her. So it's like,
I
It's
don't know
like
if you can,
because it's marketed for women, it's for women. That's basically like saying,
Yeah.
"Oh my god."
I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but back in the day, it used to be all the steroid dealers would work at GNC. You guys are probably too young for that. It was like built-in marketing.
Brilliant.
That's actually ingenious.
I worked at GNC one day a week when I started coaching, just for fun, just to get out of the house. And it was like so weird because you make commission. So it's like sell everything. So if someone comes in and asks for, hey, I need something to help me lose fat or whatever, it's just like you recommend them the most expensive product. And it could be completely indirect to actually continuing their fat loss. But as long as you're selling the product, that's all they care about. So like literally just for people that when you go into GNC, it's like they're just trying to sell you anything. Like it doesn't.
God, I remember all the money I wasted in GNC when I was younger buying useless supplements.
That happened to me.
2 pound tub of like a protein blend, not even like a hydrolyzed whey, but like a protein blend. I walked past the GNC today in Thailand, and it was like the equivalent of like $130 for a 2.2 pound tub of like protein blend. And I'm like, I just looked at it and I laughed. I'm like, yeah, no thanks.
It's unbelievable how much stuff they tricked me into doing when I was young and didn't know any better.
Oh my god!
Yeah, when I was in college, I was probably spending like $400 a month on supplements. It was
just the dumbest.
It was so bad. Yeah,
vapor. It's just like diarrhea in a can, and then it was like having Waybolic Extreme 60. You're doing 3 scoops of protein powder with a diet pill mixed into it in your coffee, drinking it, and then driving to the hospital to do surgery. And then like you're going to be late to surgery because you have to run to the bathroom and evacuate like the colon. And it's like 60 grams of protein with a diet pill mixed in that you mixed into a cup of coffee on an empty stomach, and that's your breakfast. It's like, there's no way that would have worked. And it's just like, why and I was like, eventually I smartened up and I just titrated down to like 1 scoop and then had some type of carbohydrate source to absorb it, and then didn't mix it with coffee, and it was fine. But
wow,
all the bad decisions that one can make all at once and all at the worst time.
Wow.
Literally, if you're a young guy, all you need to do is get some chicken, rice, and olive oil, and you're set.
Yeah.
But they're not going to tell you that at GNC.
Nope.
Yeah.
If you're a broke college student, you do that, and you're going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Just watch Paul's video on like how to eat like a bodybuilder for less than, what was it, $10 a day or something. It's
oh
like
man, that made people so angry. Oh my god!
Why would they be angry about that?
It probably made them so angry because it just exposed all the flaws and fuck ups in their approach to bodybuilding.
100%.
Like,
and how easy it is.
Like,
yeah. It holds the mirror up and it just reminds them how badly they're fucking up. Not only how badly they're fucking up, but like how easy it would be and should be to stop fucking up. They're like, I don't need to know this.
Yeah,
this information fucks the status quo of my life up.
The videos that I put up that make people angry always perplexes me. That was one of the ones I got the most angry DMs about. Oh my god, people got so mad.
That it was the cheap way to live. Videos. That you solve their budget problem, and you get them.
I got so many people pinging me micronutrient deficiencies. I'm like, dude, you're fat. You're not underfed.
Okay, I literally ran the diet through Chrono Trigger or whatever the fuck that app is.
Chrono Trigger.
Subtle nerd humor. So it's like run through Chrono Meter, and the micronutrients were fine. You're missing vitamin E and calcium. That's
take a fucking vitamin.
A vitamin E tablet, and you take calcium, magnesium, and zinc before you go to bed.
Yeah.
Like
most people just take a fucking multivitamin if they're that like strung out for money, and you're probably going to cover all those bases.
If you're worried about micronutrients, eat 2 eggs a day. Eat 1 serving of dairy, whether that's non-fat Greek yogurt or low-fat cottage cheese. Eat 1 serving of red meat and eat 1 serving of fatty fish, and you've met all your micronutrients. You throw in the rest of the chicken.
That's the horizontal component of the vertical diet, right there.
And
orange juice and some cranberry juice for your vitamin C and antioxidants.
Yeah,
and there you go. That's your standard efforting thing, and then you just have beef and rice and spinach for your vertical component.
I always laugh
Yeah.
when I get fat dudes lecturing me about micronutrients. I'm like, dude, you're not undernourished.
Yeah.
You are not undernourished. You're overnourished.
Or you get the overweight person like, I think I need a diet reset. The diet's not working. So no, you're not working.
So this
it's
is kind of
usually the same guys that are doing HIIT training too.
yeah.
Yeah.
If micronutrients were really that relevant, then John Jewett, who's a registered dietitian, would have a micronutrient module in J3U, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's
I just told guys like it was a ridiculous example. Like, just eat some fucking vegetables, like Colton said. Have a Greek yogurt.
Yeah.
Drink a glass of orange juice. Whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Take a multivitamin. You're covered. I wanted to show a ridiculous example. Like, I get these people all the time that come to me, and they tell me they come to me for coaching. They have all the gear, but they can't afford the diet. I know you've worked with them. I see Colton. Colton's face
all the fucking time.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that will on a call with someone, and if they're wanting to work with me, I'll be like, dude, I can't fucking stand you. Like, I literally can't work with you because it's like, or I don't have time to cook. Bro, I fucking cook all my shit in like 5 minutes. I put it into a slow cooker, wake up the next morning, and then put it into a fucking Tupperware. Like, it's the stupidest shit.
I did the math on it. Literally, you can eat an entire day worth of bodybuilding food for less than what a burrito ball costs at Chipotle.
Yeah, you're spending fucking $60 a week eating out at one meal, you know, and then you're like,
what they get upset about is that you're just like destroying their excuses.
Yeah,
not do the right things. Like, fuck.
skip the monster in the burrito bowl, and buy your bodybuilding food.
Yeah.
I just like using GH as currency. It's like if I go to Chipotle, that's an entire vial of GH. I go to Subway, that's an entire vial of GH.
Todd's entire economy is measured in
forget about the
vials of
dollars
GH.
being off the gold standard. Instead, it's going to be Bitcoins or on the GH standard.
If my car payment is over a kit worth of growth hormone, I'm done. No.
Fuck that. Fuck car insurance. There was this one year that I was so broke. I had some chicken that was starting to go bad. I had one bottle of Tren, and I had all my bills were due, and I had no gas. So what I did is I took what little money I did have. I went and bought more Tren because there was a show coming up, and I thought if I looked really good, I could at least get one client. And then I went to a gas station and told women I was stranded, and I needed some money so I could get gas in my car. And I just panhandled that guy to get money. And then I was like, let me get your number so I can call you back and give you your money back when I come into some money. And I got a bunch of girls' numbers and money at a gas station trying to get gas. And it's like, and then of course they end up hiring you when they see you on Facebook and you look good at the show. And then they're like, oh, that's what he looks like. I want him to get me in shape. So then they hire you. And so you give them a discount because they gave you gas money when you needed it.
Todd's bodybuilding panhandler.
So it was like I was able to basically limp along on some rotting chicken and one bottle of crap. And I had like no toilet paper. I was using paper towel, and I had one light bulb left. And I was at night I would just go from one room to the other room with the light bulb and screw it in to see.
Wow.
I just get constantly perplexed and frustrated with how people get focused on the minutia when they just they aren't even doing the basics. It just drives me utterly fucking insane, man. I don't like, dude, you're worried about micronutrients and your 30% fucking body fat. Seriously.
You're
still on this. Like,
it drives me nuts, man. That one it's Nicholas's fault for bringing it up, man.
The amount of fat soluble vitamins deposited in the fucking 100 pounds of adipose tissue you have is more than enough to
But like it's stupid, like it's always the young guys there. They'll be like, I can't afford blood work, but they can somehow afford all these drugs. I can't afford good food. I don't have the time, but they can, literally like hang out with their mates for 3 hours after the gym session before they go to bed at like 3 in the morning to get up again at like 6 to start their job. And then they're just like basically just fucking around, like.
Or they always got room in the budget for a cheat meal. You know, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Remember, yeah, but oh no, I can't buy like chicken breast for the week. Why not?
Right.
Like just skip one meal out. There's your budget for meat for the entire week almost.
Rich
I
Dad
got-
Poor Dad is a great book to read. For
Oh
anyone
yeah,
who's
it's a great
like,
one.
I'm broke.
Yeah.
What was that?
Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a great book.
Yeah.
It's a great book.
Another good
Read
one
it.
is Barefoot Investor for like people who want to set up their finances.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
Robert Kiyosaki, was that his name?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Guys, like,
I read that in like 95 or something like that.
Yeah.
Use the debt from the bank to go into debt, not your own money, sort of thing. It's a smart tactic.
Yeah.
All right, folks, I need to wrap this up. I got some check-ins to do, and my bladder's ready to explode. I'm reaching the limit of what I can.
Yeah,
I'm sure we all are.
Reaching the limit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to pee in my Mountain Dew bottle if we keep going.
Oh, yeah.
it was
told you that
good
story.
to unofficially meet all you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, man, thanks for coming on.
You're cool, Nick. Come back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not weird.
Yeah, no, you're allowed. You're just a proper amount of weird.
You're not
What's
weird.
funny is
Yeah.
your name
Yeah.
is because you. Okay,
Yeah. No, well, my nickname's
when you
Weirdo
pronounce-
because you added D and O on the end.
but
Yeah.
okay, so like some people, okay, like British accents drop the R, and I maybe I'm wrong, but I think Australian accents sometimes drop the D. So it's like they say weird, and then weird, it comes out the same.
Yeah.
So,
Sort of, yeah. Well, like Nicholas Weir, yeah. It's it's a weird, yeah. Well,
see,
my
when you,
nickname's
when you
Weirdo.
said weird,
Yeah.
it sounded like you just said your last name because the D is an accent.
yeah,
Like I can hear the D, but it's a really quiet D.
yeah, like a silent,
Really
silent
small
D.
D.
Small D.
I didn't say small.
I have a small D.
You don't make sense like saying they've got a small D. So I didn't
Silent
say that.
D.
And
Yeah.
folks, on that one, we'll end the broadcast. Take care.
See you later.